History is supposed to be serious. Wars, revolutions, founding documents, presidents giving speeches that echo through time. But buried under the weight of all that seriousness are stories so ridiculous, so strange, and so flat-out hilarious that you'll have a hard time believing they actually happened in the United States. And yet, they did. So today, we're going to peel back the curtain on 13 of the weirdest, most ridiculous facts in US history. 1. The time the US accidentally nuked itself. It was 1961, Goldsboro, North Carolina. In the dead of night, a US Air Force B-52 bomber broke apart midair, scattering its payload, 2 nuclear bombs, across farmland. One of them armed itself, just as if it were about to detonate. Out of its 4 fail-safes, 3 failed. Only one tiny switch stood between North Carolina and an explosion 250 times stronger than Hiroshima. And here's the kicker, when they went to recover it, they realized part of the bomb sank into the swampy ground and is still there today, buried, sealed off, and monitored. So technically, the US dropped a nuclear bomb on its own land and just left it there. Ridiculous? Absolutely. Terrifying? Even more so. 2. The president who was arrested while in office. Imagine being the most powerful man in the world, Commander-in-Chief of the United States, leader of millions, and then getting pulled over and arrested. That's exactly what happened to President Ulysses S. Grant. In the 1870s, Washington, D.C. had a serious horse and carriage speeding problem. Grant, who loved horses, was caught racing down the street. A police officer stopped him, recognized him instantly, and still said, "Mr. President, you're under arrest." And Grant didn't fight it. He went to the station, paid his fine like everyone else, and went home. The sitting president of the United States literally got arrested for speeding with a horse. 3. The time Congress declared pizza a vegetable. It sounds like a punchline, but in 2011, the US Congress decided that pizza, well, technically the tomato paste on pizza, could count as a serving of vegetables in school lunches. Why? Lobbying. Frozen pizza companies pressured lawmakers to make it easier for schools to count their product as healthy. So, for a time, pizza was legally recognized as a vegetable. Parents were outraged, nutritionists laughed, and kids across the nation silently cheered. It was one of the most absurd decisions in food policy history, and it's still quoted today as proof that sometimes American bureaucracy is just plain ridiculous. 4. The deadliest labor dispute involved a paintball-looking tank. In 1914, tensions between striking coal miners and private security forces in Colorado exploded into violence. Known as the Ludlow Massacre, it left dozens dead, including women and children. But here's the insane part. One of the weapons used against miners wasn't just guns, it was a bizarre armored car nicknamed the Death Special. It looked like something out of a steampunk video game, a car covered in steel plates, with gun slots sticking out. Imagine a paintball tank, except the stakes were life and death. It's one of those moments where history feels less like reality and more like a darkly absurd movie. 5. The Great Emu War, American Edition. You've probably heard of Australia's infamous Emu War, where soldiers fought giant birds and lost. But did you know America had its own version of bird warfare? In the 1930s, farmers in the Midwest declared war on crows. The birds were eating crops, so towns organized militias to hunt them. Thousands of rounds of ammunition were fired. Parades were held celebrating crow hunts. And the result? The crows adapted, avoided hunters, and kept eating. America lost its bird war just like Australia did. Sometimes nature just laughs at human plans. 6. The state that banned margarine. Butter was big business in the late 1800s. When margarine was invented, cheaper and easier to make, dairy farmers panicked. So states began passing bizarre laws to protect butter. Wisconsin, America's dairy capital, actually banned margarine altogether. For decades, you literally couldn't buy it there. People smuggled it across state lines like contraband. There were even undercover margarine raids. Imagine officers storming a restaurant kitchen looking for tubs of fake butter. Sounds like comedy, but it's true. 7. The president who fought a duel and won. Andrew Jackson, America's 7th president, had a reputation as a hothead. He fought in duels, real duels, with pistols. In one infamous duel, his opponent actually shot Jackson in the chest. Most people would drop dead. Not Jackson. He stayed standing, aimed, and killed his rival. The bullet stayed in his body for the rest of his life. So yes, the President of the United States once walked around with a bullet lodged in his chest like some kind of Wild West outlaw. 8. The US once had a secret plan to nuke the moon. It sounds like a bad sci-fi plot, but in the 1950s, the US military really drew up a plan to nuke the moon. The idea was simple: show off America's power to the world, especially the Soviets, by detonating a nuclear bomb where everyone could see it. Thankfully, cooler heads prevailed. Instead of nuking the moon, the US launched astronauts to walk on it. But just think about it, human history almost included a chapter where we nuked our nearest celestial neighbor just to prove a point. 9. The day the White House was filled with cheese. In 1835, President Andrew Jackson received a gift, a massive, 1,400-pound wheel of cheese. Instead of quietly eating it, Jackson put it in the White House foyer. For 2 years, it sat there, aging, smelling, waiting. When his presidency ended, Jackson invited the public to come eat it. Thousands of people showed up. They stormed the White House, hacking off chunks of cheese with whatever they had: knives, sticks, even bare hands. For days afterward, the White House reeked of cheese. Furniture absorbed the smell. Guests complained. And yes, it's remembered in history as the cheese party. 10. The state that tried to secede over. Bathrooms. In the 1930s, the tiny town of Key West, Florida, was broke. The federal government set up roadblocks to stop illegal immigration from Cuba, but it also hurt local tourism. Furious, the residents declared independence. They jokingly called themselves the Conch Republic, and even staged a mock secession ceremony. Here's the ridiculous part: they actually surrendered 1 minute later and applied for foreign aid as if they were a separate country. To this day, Key West still celebrates its independence every year with parades, parties, and lots of beer. 11. The vice president who killed a man. Aaron Burr, the third vice president of the United States, will forever be remembered for one thing: he killed Alexander Hamilton in a duel. Think about that. The sitting vice president literally shot and killed one of the founding fathers. And here's the most ridiculous part: he didn't even go to jail. He finished his term in office as if nothing happened. It's like something out of a political thriller, except it's true. 12. The US once had a bat bomb program. During World War II, the US military had an idea that sounds like a cartoon villain's plan: bat bombs. They strapped tiny incendiary devices to bats, planning to release them over Japanese cities. The bats would roost in buildings, and the bombs would ignite, starting fires everywhere. They even tested it. And yes, it worked. But the project was scrapped in favor of the atomic bomb, meaning America almost fought a war with exploding bats. 13. The president who got stuck in the bathtub. One of the most famous ridiculous facts: President William Howard Taft was a big man. So big, in fact, that he once got stuck in the White House bathtub. Servants had to help him out, and afterward, a giant custom tub was built just for him. It was so big that 4 men could fit inside. The image of the leader of the free world wedged inside a bathtub is both hilarious and absurd, but it's part of the quirky tapestry of American history. Closing. When we think of US history, we imagine the serious, the tragic, the inspiring. But hidden within the textbooks are these moments, ridiculous, unbelievable, sometimes hilarious, that remind us history isn't just about dates and wars. It's about people. And people, even powerful ones, can be absurd. From nuclear near misses to dueling presidents, from bat bombs to bathtub mishaps, these 13 stories prove that sometimes the strangest parts of history are the ones most worth remembering. Because after all, reality doesn't just write the best stories. Sometimes, it writes the most ridiculous ones too.